Downstairs in the lobby, printed on the wall, is the following message to everybody that enters Founders Hall. The mission of Northern Connecticut Community College is to inspire learning through accessible, high-quality education, period. Northwestern is devoted to enriching lives by meeting individual and community needs in a supportive environment. I agree with that. No holds barred. You, the students of this college, need to have factual, vetted information provided to you so that we don't play telephone. The podium doesn't pass something that's inaccurate, which you take into the community and talk to your friends about that is inaccurate, and it just gets all twisted. So I prepared, and I'm going to have Rachel send this, Attorney Baird, send this out to you, so you have it. And I'm going to try to keep to the script. And as many times as you've heard me mention a student's name, I'm not going to mention it during this presentation. But yesterday, my entire presentation took a twist. As students and young adults, you are the future of our state and nation. Many, if not all of you, have chosen to attend this school of higher education to obtain an advanced education to assist you in navigating through life. All of you are attending this class to obtain a single credit, lost my place, offered along with valid factual information by those who presented information on the class subject. My presentation today is about the lack of knowledge and the need for your generation to question authority and/or those who exercise control over basic constitutional rights and your future. If you have questions, then seek answers. And may I suggest that you keep asking questions till you are satisfied by the facts. Trust your basic instinct about right and wrong. And don't be afraid to do your homework and needed research to verify what you were told. Each one of you sat in this classroom and witnessed the challenge made to me by a judge of the Superior Court to provide the names of states that do not have constitutional provisions which guarantees the right to bear arms. As an observer, I should not have interrupted the speaker during his time, but felt compelled to offer information to correct what I perceived as an incorrect statement. I should have waited until my time to address you, which I'm going to do now. I apologize to Mike Emanuel, Attorney Rachel Baird, you the students, and especially Judge Charles Gill, who took the bold step of appearing before you and taking your questions. You all saw me fumble because I couldn't give a quick answer other than California at that time. But I wasn't embarrassed and chose instead to take the time to do my homework. Having said that, here are the states that I couldn't provide to Judge Gill off the top of my head. California, Iowa, Maryland, Minnesota, New Jersey, and New York. I do apologize to Judge Gill. I do apologize to you. I apologize to the college. Because as Attorney Baird said off record, sometimes she feels like she's lost control of me. And I thank the student who listened to me and asked a question. Now, some facts. I am a freedom of information seeking crazy person when it comes to seeking information so that I have it in my back pocket when somebody questions my facts. As of this week, I've received the following information. There are 197,520 pistol permits currently issued and valid in the state of Connecticut. There are currently 73 eligibility certificates. Some of these numbers are outdated because the state police are having a hard time providing the information to me because they know no good comes of it. There is currently a lawsuit filed over the $50 fee that is charged for criminal history background checks, when in fact they're supposed to be free, in my opinion, and hopefully the judge agrees. Based on some numbers since October 1st, 2009, the amount of possible improperly collected background check fees is $2,368,650. I made an FOI request to the state of Connecticut. Rich Burgess put it all together in a Microsoft Access database because there was limits to the number of files you could put into Microsoft Excel. And don't hold me to this number because Rich knows more about it than I do. I said to the state police, I want your databases of every known firearm in the state of Connecticut. I want the town it's located in, the make, the model, the caliber, and the serial number of every firearm that you know about. They provided me with, I believe, 2 files, more than that.
It was 300 something.
300 files, because they keep it a whole bunch of different ways. And if my numbers are accurate, and I'll put the disclaimer I could be wrong, currently in the state of Connecticut, there are known to the state 1,054,898 firearms. That includes handguns and long guns. I made a request to the Department of DEP. That's who they were, the hunting people. The people that issue hunting licenses. Now, in the state of Connecticut, in their infinite wisdom, the legislature protected the name and address of pistol permit holders from disclosure. But guess what they didn't protect? I received 49,967 files, records, in a spreadsheet, giving me the name, the address, the town, everything of who had hunting permits. In other words, let's assume they're long gun owners. Well, what they gave me was a fishing list. That's where the AR-15s are. That's where the high-powered rifles are. Who wants to go to a gunfight with a pistol when you can stand off at a distance with a rifle? Why would they protect pistol permit and not long guns? Because the legislature doesn't know what they're doing. The need for a comprehensive review of existing laws. Most of the current Connecticut general statutes were drafted and approved based on the long-standing belief that our federal Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms only applied to members of militias and did not apply to the states or their citizens. With the 2008 Heller, and 2010 McDonald decisions, every state, including Connecticut, should have conducted a comprehensive review of their existing firearms laws to assure that they met minimum standards to protect and not infringe upon the newly identified individual right to keep and bear arms. Federal versus state wording. The Constitution of the state of Connecticut is the basic government governing document of the state of Connecticut. Connecticut's current Constitution replaced an earlier Constitution of 1818. It is the state's second Constitution since the establishment of the United States. An earlier Constitution, dating from colonial times, the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut, remained the basis of government even as Connecticut gained its independence from Great Britain. Existed as an independent policy, yeah, there's some word I can't pronounce, polity, it must be politic, whatever, and joined the United States. So, okay, the federal Constitution, late 1700s, the Connecticut Constitution, 1818, they're both back in the same era of our history. In the future, you and other citizens of Connecticut will hear much about Second Amendment rights, but must always keep in mind that we in Connecticut enjoy a similar but differently worded right regarding arms. In Connecticut, we have the right to bear arms without the word keep being used or mentioned in the Constitution, the Connecticut Constitution. As average, everyday citizens, we are required and expected to follow properly enacted laws established by our government and have the need to be able to understand the laws as written and published. I don't care about case law. I want to be able to go to the library, open up a law book, look at the law, read it, understand it, and live by it if you can. Listen to what our Constitution says. Preamble. The people of Connecticut, acknowledging with gratitude the good providence of God in having permitted them to enjoy a free government, do in order more effectively to define, secure, and perpetuate the liberties, rights, and privileges which they have derived from their ancestors. Hereby, after careful consideration and revision, ordain and establish the following Constitution and form of civil government. Article 1st, Declaration of Rights. That the great and essential principles of liberty and free government may be recognized and established, we declare. And I'm going to skip down to section 15. Every citizen has a right to bear arms in defense of himself and the state. Not the state and himself. Himself and the state. When I do things in preparation for a class, what I do, and I think it's a human nature, is I go, what's my first priority? What's my second priority? What's my third priority? Everybody that seems to do that, raise your hand. Okay. Could it be that the founding fathers said, we needed, prior to the revolution leading up to it, and during the revolution, a means to communicate between ourselves and to others. Priority number 1, First Amendment. What's the second thing that became very important leading up to April 19th, 1775 on the green at Lexington? Firearm. And it turned from a hunting firearm to an assault weapon on the green at Lexington. I told you that this is about education. I have 10 areas. And I don't think that Rachel is going to test you on what I say. Individuals, and I can read through this and it's not going to take 50 minutes. Individuals that seek to acquire, possess, and carry firearms. Everybody that thinks they need to be educated, raise your hand. They need to be educated, in my opinion, in 8 areas. Various types of previously available and newly mandated eligibility certificates, they have to know about them. The 60-day temporary obtained locally and the 5-year state permit to carry, you need to know about it. Various firearm and magazine registration requirements, you need to know about it. Positive government-issued photo identification and the discretion to waive fingerprints. What do you mean? I didn't get fingerprinted for this pistol permit I got in my pocket. They got plenty of my fingerprints. 4, evidence of legal status in the United States. Required federal and additional state criminal history records check. Read the statute. The federal is required. The state is not. The state criminal history records check is not required. But you can't get the 5-year permit until one is done. And if you go down to get your permit with your temporary, there's a guy sitting there at a computer and he looks at your federal record before he gives it to you. 6, successful completion of an approved firearm safety course. Caveat, and the need for more knowledge to people who are going to get permits and acquire firearms. Payment of various firearm-related fees. Trust me, they're going to look to get money. And other miscellaneous documents. Done with us. There could be more, there could be less. People who are going to acquire, possess, and carry firearms need to know the law. Not just an NRA pistol safety course. They need to know what they can do and what they can't do, where they can go, where they can't go, how to carry it, how not to carry it, and how to respond to a police officer if in fact they're confronted. The individuals that have or plan to take possession of firearms or ammunition, and I'm going to repeat myself here, various types of eligibility certificates. You're going to have to get one to get it. Buy ammunition now. Various firearm and magazine registration requirements. I repeated that because that's something that's in, you know, if you're planning on buying a magazine or buying ammunition, whether you're here or you walk into Cabela's in Vermont, you got to know if you can bring it home or not. The Connecticut Police Officers Standards and Training Academy Basic Training Curriculum. FOI guy, excuse me, Chief Flatterly, who's the Executive Director, under FOI, can you give me the training modules that you use to train and certify police officers regarding firearms in the state of Connecticut? And he gave me a couple of pages and he said, here it is. I said, that's it. So I think that post, and I believe the state police may not be under post, they have their own training. No, they're under post. Police officers in their training academies should be able to look to their training academies and say, train us. Now I talk about government officials who are empowered to enforce criminal and civil firearms law. That's your police, those are your policemen. Those are the people that arrest you. Those are the people who, under a risk warrant of 2938C, if you're a danger to yourself or another, they have a civil way, without criminal charges, of coming in, seizing all your firearms. You get a hearing in 14 days, and then the judge hears the case on the seizure and decides whether the state has the right to keep your firearms for up to 1 year or not. It's called this risk warrant hearing. The people who are out there in their cruisers applying the law are taught how to read a law. And I guess they're supposed to be able to go to the law, read the law, and then understand the law. I was obsessive as a policeman. I used to be reading the motor vehicle and criminal law like it was a best novel. And then running in my head all kinds of situations through it. Police officers need to be trained better. The Attorney General of the state of Connecticut needs to understand and get involved with the interpretation of Connecticut general statutes, plural, not singular, and needs to honestly address concerns over constitutionality on the issues. If he doesn't do it, he's not doing his job, and he should simply not rubber stamp what the legislature did or the governor wants. The Attorney General has an obligation to look at those laws and say, you know, this isn't going to pass muster. And when constitutional rights are concerned, you don't even want to go near the other person's lawn. It's not my grass. Judges and administrative personnel who review and render initial decisions on firearm violations. I don't put their names in here. Judges and administrative personnel, that would be your firearms people who make a decision to revoke, lack a comprehensive knowledge of firearm-related criminal and civil firearms law, and sometimes the state constitution. Police officers and members of the Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection and their special license and firearms unit often make decisions based on their personal opinions and beliefs without any legal authority based in law. Rachel has a letter right now from an attorney in legal affairs for the state police named Christine Plord, where after repeated requests, finally reduced to writing that the state police were making mistakes with ex parte restraining orders or protective orders. But you know what I think took her to write that letter? When they wouldn't respond to Rachel and they wouldn't answer her questions, she filed a complaint with the Federal Bureau of Investigation in New Haven, asking that the responsible members of the SLFU who did what they did be arrested for extortion, because what they did fits the elements of the extortion statute. All of a sudden, Rachel gets a letter from Christine Plord that she couldn't get before. And now you have the Board of Firearms Permit Examiners lacks the resources and the authority to properly address firearms issues that come before them. The Board of Firearms Permit Examiners has one state employee, Sue Mazzacoli. The current 7, planned to be 9 sitting members of the board are asked to do it on a voluntary basis. They volunteer. They are not compensated. If Second Amendment rights and/or gun control is of such importance to the state of Connecticut, take some of that $2 million+ in improper fees and properly fund the Board of Firearms Permit Examiners, so that if someone has an issue with a firearm purchase, a firearm possession, or firearm permit, they get their hearing within 14 days. If they have to meet 5 days a week, let them meet 5 days a week. It's a balance. You want to do this? Fine, give us that. I don't say it's okay to do that, but give us a board that meets 5 days a week. You get more over a driver's license. You have more rights to a hearing and timely hearing with a driver's license revocation than you do with a firearms permit. Judicial Department prosecutors who review firearm case facts and prosecute criminal and civil cases. And I'm going to run through this, but I'm going to give you my editorial comment ahead of time. As Attorney Baird's legal investigator, I sit in on initial client intake interviews. I read the police reports. I question the prospective client, and I question them my way. And I have this famous thing: no surprises. If anything you did is going to come out that we don't know about, tell us now. People who are private citizens who acquire, possess, or carry firearms are not properly trained. Members of law enforcement who are supposed to be out there protecting and serving the community are not properly trained. Prosecutors who make decisions whether to sign and forward to a judge an arrest warrant application or a risk warrant application are not properly trained. Judges who review an arrest warrant or civil risk warrant application regarding firearms put in front of them are not properly trained. And now comes the best part. You heard me say earlier that I think that the legislature should all have to be wearing prison outfits when they meet at the Capitol. Because what happens is this: they have a knee-jerk reaction to Newtown. I never say, as part of my presentations or conversations, I don't speak the name of the person who did it. It's my personal, I've heard his name said several times. I don't use his name. It was a terrible incident. It was horrific. It will always be remembered, at least in the state of Connecticut. It could get lost amongst other incidents in our history to other incidents that will occur in our future. Newtown may become just an incident. But we as honest people need to remember Newtown. The Connecticut Legend, and here's the way I explained it outside when I was talking the other day. And I've tried to explain this to the people who take my firearms course. Connecticut gun laws, plural, are like a big jigsaw puzzle. And, you know, you take the puzzle pieces, you put them on the big card table, and at least what I do is, you start sorting them out by straight edge for perimeter, blue for the sky, green for the grass, blue for the pond, brown for the barn, and then funky things for animals, you know, like cows, horses, or whatever. You sort them out by color, and then you put them together, and the pieces interlock. And once the pieces are identified, put together in a sensible way they were cut, you see the picture. Well, when this building was built, it was built probably in the 40s or earlier, not in the 50s. And there was a certain construction standard used to build this building. It'll probably last forever, unlike current buildings. But some of the things that happened in here had to be replaced when new technology came out. It had to be upgraded with video and electric 3-prong plugs and air conditioning units, because we found out that you needed certain things to meet code. Our Connecticut laws need to meet the constitutional code. But those legislators went into the Capitol riding what I call the Newtown tsunami. Every single politician who does not appreciate law-abiding citizens who possess firearms grabbed their political surfboard and said, "Surf's off! Let's get to the Capitol as fast as we can. Let's jump on this wave, and we are going to have the ride we've been looking for a long time." Now, I am offended that the politicians of Connecticut chose to put political surfboards on the Newtown tsunami. It was a tsunami. It was as bad a tsunami as the one in Japan. It was as bad a tsunami as the one in Indonesia years back. It was worse for the families. I don't surf. I got dragged into this because a friend's son got arrested in 2007 at Chili's in Glastonbury. What I'm trying to say to you is this, and I think that, you know, and it goes on, you're going to get this. You are, like I said at the beginning, I'm 64 years old. I'm done. I can be a mentor. I can be a person that you can ask me to convey my experiences. You could learn from me. You could learn from people my age. But guess what? I take the elevator up and I take the elevator down because my knees are rather shot. You own the future. You own it. Everybody in this room that's sitting in a student's chair, you own the future. It is your future. You have an obligation to get in the driver's seat collectively of your future. Now I'm done. I'm going to leave it with this. I ask you to do one thing. Oh, there's going to be a couple things. One, I asked you after yesterday to rate the day. You don't have to put your name on it. Put a piece of number. Let Rachel know whether she put together a good program or not. Now, when I used to do my public access show, dressed as a clown or a judge with a mop over my head, with a rubber mallet with a black cloth hanging over me, and that was funny. I used to start my show like this. I want you to call your mother, your father, your sisters, brothers, neighbors, friends, fellow students, everybody you talk to. If you like this class, if you think they'll like this class, tell them about this class. Rachel's getting nervous. She's got to run out again.
No, I'm okay. We're going to get started.
You have never seen her concerned about the day or the next day or the next week or about a client. I have. I know that she put her heart and soul and a lot of time into putting this course together. And she's extremely nervous with me sitting at a podium. But I made a decision to try to be as honest and sincere about the Second Amendment, and more importantly, about the Connecticut Constitution, and what it says, and what it doesn't say, and what it means. Because I am a person who believes in living by the letter of the law. It's called black letter law. If you put it in front of me, I will read it, I will understand it, and I will attempt to live by it.